Chapter 9, Auntie's Secret Selfie Garden. When they sat down for snack, Auntie pushed aside the box of sprinkles she had left on the table from her baking project. Today's cookies were decorated with little pinches of colored sugar crystals that crunched between Zoe's teeth. After a couple of cookies, Auntie said, "I've been trying to think of a good way to explain the third type of pollination, and this box of sprinkles gives me an idea." She pulled out a container of green sugar crystals, popped the top, and shook a little pile onto the table. Sugar crystals bounced everywhere. "Auntie," said Zoe, alarmed by the mess, "what are you doing?" "Pretend the sprinkles are pollen." Auntie opened the red sprinkles and shook them over the green. Every bit of pollen carries different information, like the different colors of these sprinkles. Remember how the differences in pollen are what give the next generation of plants? "Variations," interrupted Zoe. "Yes, I remember." She added yellow sprinkles to the pile, now delighted by the giant mess, and got into the spirit of the lesson by adding purple and pink to the pile. Soon every color was represented. Plants who need lots of different pollens to make healthy seeds are called cross-pollinated, said Auntie. "You already know how these plants use insects or wind to move their pollen around, kind of like this multicolored cross-pollinated mess in front of us, right?" Zoe just laughed and nodded her head. Having made her point, Auntie swept the sprinkles into the bowl. "Now, here's one more method of pollination that isn't so messy." Now, there is one more method of pollination that isn't so messy. "Auntie, how many methods are there?" She laughed. "Only 3, I promise, and this group is the strangest of all." She opened the purple sprinkles and poured a new pile onto the table. "This third group doesn't move pollen any farther than the inside of its own flower." She shook more purple sprinkles onto the pile to emphasize her point. "These plants are called self-pollinators, or selfies." "Did you just call them selfies?" interrupted Zoe. "Selfies are pictures, Auntie." "That's true. Selfie pictures and self-pollinating plants are similar. You can take a selfie picture all by yourself. A plant that's a selfie can pollinate itself." Zoe stirred the pile with her finger. "That seems weird. I'm guessing those are some strange plants." "Not as strange as you think. Some of our favorite foods are selfies. Lettuce, tomatoes, beans, peas, and peppers are all selfies, which make them the easiest plants to save seeds from. Speaking of selfies, let's grab our plant journals. I have something to show you." Auntie led her down a narrow hallway off the kitchen. A little door led into the woodshed. A second door opened onto an old, cracked patio that she had never seen before. An arched trellis covered by long vines with heart-shaped leaves dominated the cement space. Long, fat beans hung from the vines, and bulbous pink and red flowers on long stems poked out of the green foliage. Deep wooden boxes of red and green lettuces lined one edge of the patio. Tomato plants in recycled buckets lined another. A row of peas, supported by chicken wire, grew out of lined plastic crates. It took her a moment to notice that everything in this little garden was planted in containers of one kind or another. She was surrounded by plants growing on cement. "Welcome to my secret selfie garden," said Auntie. "Ever since I learned about your patio, I've been experimenting with growing selfies in containers to see what might work." "These are all selfies?" They're beautiful, said Zoe. She was filled with delight and a sense of possibility for her own patio garden. I just love these pink and red flowers. What are they? Those are painted lady runner beans. A selfie with a great story. Auntie sat on the rickety picnic bench. They originally grew in the mountains of Central America. In the 1500s, they were collected by European explorers and carried all the way back to England. The beans thrived in the English climate and became popular with gardeners. They were named Painted Lady in 1596 to honor Queen Elizabeth I. Back then, it was considered stylish to coat your face with thick white powder and add bright red cheeks, like the colors of the Painted Lady runner bean flower. Just think, all that history growing out of a bucket. Those beans are named for someone who lived 500 years ago because of her makeup. I can't believe a name would hang on for 500 years because of makeup. Auntie laughed. Good point. I never thought of that. Zoe reached out and gently touched a painted lady blossom. I actually like that story, and I think I'd like to grow these at my house. Maybe they could grow up the side of the ugly shed and hide it. My mom would love that. Auntie sketched while Zoe explored the little garden. Tomato vines sprawled out of their cages onto the cement. Curious about their flowers, she searched among the leaves until she found a yellow star-shaped flower with an uninviting bag-like shape in the center. She could understand why pollinators would ignore it, but given the number of fruits hanging from the vine, she realized that the tomato plant clearly knew what it was doing. She moved on to the lettuce boxes and admired the different colors and textures of the plants. Why don't these have any flowers? They're still coming along, said Auntie. Can you see how that one is sending up a stalk from the middle of the plant? By the end of summer, that stalk will be waist-high with flowers like miniature dandelions. When the seeds are ripe, they will have the same white puff at the top. You'll see. Lettuce is one of the easiest seeds you can grow. Zoe moved to the dwarf gray snow peas. Of all the selfies, she loved these best because of their lavender and purple flowers. She picked a pea pod and took a bite. The tender, flat pod tasted sweet and crunchy, nothing like the frozen peas she ate at home. She thought about her chives and baby perennial plants at home and was already planning how she could expand her patio garden with buckets of selfies. Zoe joined Auntie at the little patio table. Now you've seen all three types of pollination, said Auntie. Insect, wind, and self. Isn't nature amazing? They drew some sketches of the selfies and then made their way back through the woodshed to the kitchen. Auntie filled some small envelopes with selfie seeds for Zoe to add to her own patio garden. We need to do everything we can to help the bees, Zoe, but even without them, we will still have things to eat.